The great twist with Sarah Jane. I mean, these episodes were made to just be seen at once rather than over and over, and that twist becomes really obvious when you know it. But when you don't know it, what a brilliant pulling the rug twist.
Oh, it's not enough time, is it?
Yeah. Right, no respite. Right, for the next 60 seconds, you're going to be talking about the twin dilemma.
Well, we've talked about the twin dilemma on the actual podcast, so it's not like I'm not going to be able to talk about the twin dilemma. I really like, or I think I probably would really like, the original script. It's written by, I can't remember the name of the writer, if anybody wants to throw it at me, but the original script sounded like it was going to be a proper old 50s style B-movie, monster movie, Doctor Who. And even though they'd run out of money a bit, okay, but when did you ever not forgive Doctor Who for not having much budget? We've just talked about Invasion of the Dinosaurs. But this old sort of 50s style B-movie type Doctor Who romp could have been great. But then Eric Saywood gets his teeth into it, kicks out the original script, rewrites just enough of it to take all the fun out and put all the dull stuff in, and if we get another Eric Saywood story, or another story that Eric Saywood's had any influence on during the course of this episode, I'm not going to be very happy. I did not come on the spot to rant about Eric Saywood.
So, Simon.
Oh, yeah, my turn.
And my next story is Resurrection of the Daleks.
Oh.
No, The Infinite Quest.
Oh, The Infinite Quest. As a series of 5-minute or 3-minute, I think there were 3 minutes each, as a series of 3-minute episodes, it kind of worked because it was very, very episodic, and the quest nature of it was deliberately written, to be episodic. But when you watch the sort of 47 or 45 minute or whatever it is, amalgamated version, it's really so bitty that you can't really, get into it properly. It's got some nice dialogue, and the animation's okay. It's not my preferred animation, but it's the same kind of stuff as is on the Invasion, and it does the job, and it's fine enough. It's the kind of thing you could probably put on, and as long as you turned your brain to neutral, you could just sit and enjoy it. But it's not one of those Doctor Who stories that you can really sort of sit down, give you full concentration, and really spend a lot of time with, because it was written to be in 3-minute episodes, really.
He's doing annoyingly well so far.
Let him see the paper, Lee.
The Girl Who Waited.
Oh, I absolutely adore The Girl Who Waited. That THX 1138 aesthetic that it's got is just wonderful. It doesn't look like any other Doctor Who story. And the brilliant thing is, it doesn't behave like any other Doctor Who story either. It's got this kind of thing where Tom McRae's come in, he's done the Cybermen story for Russell T Davies, and Tom McRae's a young chap, and the Cyberman story was written right at the start of his career, and it's a bit naive, it's great fun, but when it comes to the proper character stuff, the sort of deeper stuff that enables you to live with the episode afterwards, Cybermen, not so great. Girl Who Waited, 4 or 5 years later, he's written 4 or 5 years worth of scripts in the meantime, and he absolutely gets the characters, absolutely nails them, and really makes you feel for them. And that dilemma that's at the heart of that episode, you really feel it. That was a total 10 out of 10 episode for me when I wrote the review of it for Starburst. I absolutely loved it.
You are doing very well, actually. Yeah.
Oh, did you think I wouldn't?
Yeah. You're doing marvellously well, JR. Okay, for the next 60 seconds,
Very dry throat.
I want you to wax lyrical about the incredible, the amazing, the one and only Invasion of Time.
Oh, that's a funny one. It's famously got the twist with the Sontarans at the end of episode 4, and this is Graham Williams, who's come into Doctor Who to do something different with it, and he's gone back immediately and done a Philip Hinchcliffe. He's done a 4-parter and a 2-parter for the 6-part story. The first 4 episodes, before the Sontarans turn up, are actually way, way better than the 2 episodes that come afterwards. That cliffhanger brilliant cliffhanger. When I was a kid, you know, my eyes popped out of my head. The Sontarans, fantastic,
Their eyes
brilliant.
were popping out the reds.
And then we get 2 episodes of just running up and down corridors, you know, inside the TARDIS, outside the TARDIS, and who could tell which bits were in the TARDIS because, you know, most of them were in a swimming pool. Oh, Finn, the swimming pool. This is the story with the swimming pool. And to be honest, it was all their political machinations and all the sort of subtles and satire and all this kind of stuff in the first 4 episodes. Great.
Right, now for the next one.
I should talk slower, really. I wouldn't have to think of so much stuff.
Okay, for the next 60 seconds, you have to talk about Scream of the Schalke.
Oh, you've got me now. I've seen Scream of the Schalke precisely once on a really poor quality sort of pirate disc of a video camera, just like this, pointing at a computer screen, but the video camera, they hadn't even lined it up, so the picture was like this with black bars around all 4 sides of it. It was on its side. They'd managed to get the sound up so that they plugged the sound into the microphone, so the sound was perfect and the picture was awful. What do I remember of the story? The Master being a robot. Well, what is that all about? And the Doctor as Richard E. Grant, I quite liked him. He had kind of maybe what Colin Baker was going for in his early episodes, where he was a darker Doctor that you couldn't warm to. And who knows where Richard E. Grant might have taken it, because Scream of the Schalke was supposed to have a sequel the following year, and Richard E. Grant was, to all intents and purposes, going to be playing the Doctor once a year from then on, until the series turned up and knocked all that on the head. So Scream of the Schalke has been completely forgotten, and probably that's a good thing in the end, because it wasn't really all that good. It probably bears comparison with The Infinite Quest, in that it's the kind of thing you can watch that's quite light, but I'm sorry, it's a Paul Cornell script, and it's Paul Cornell not doing what he usually does, but instead trying to do a sort of monster movie kind of a thing, and there's lots of sort of, you know, Godzilla 1950s Tokyo type scenes, but it's all in, you know, England instead, and the whole thing seemed like a mishmash that didn't really match. And are you seriously telling me we've not got
Sorry, yeah, I must have accidentally switched off the timer. Go on. Very good, very good. Simon?
Accidentally?
How many more are we doing each?
Well,
Just keep going till you stop.
Alright, Feast of Stephen.
Ooh, story. That's an episode. You can't give me an episode.
Yes, you can, yeah.
You can, it was so separate.
Okay, Feast of Stephen, Doctor Who's first Christmas special, in which very famously the Doctor turns to camera at the end of the episode and toasts the audience at home. The interesting thing about it is they had decided to do a 12-part Dalek story because, can't remember the guy's name, basically the executive producer of Doctor Who, his mother liked the Daleks. So although they were doing 4-part stories, he said, let's have the Daleks in 6-part stories and let's do it twice a year. New production regime had just come in. They'd said, we don't want to do the Daleks for, 6 weeks here and then 6 weeks in another 6 months' time. Let's do it all in one. Are you filming my shoulder?
Keep going.
Let's do it all in one, is this arty, and have 12 weeks all on the trot. But of course that took in Christmas Day, and Doctor Who had never been on Christmas Day. So instead they decided to stop the Dalek story for a week and just have a Christmas special for a week in which everybody just went a bit mad, had a bit of fun, and said Merry Christmas to the viewers at home. And I haven't said a thing about the Feast of Stephen, but I've told you the background, and that's
Toast
about all I
everybody,
know.
toast everybody a Merry Christmas.
And a Merry September to all of you at home. That was cruel, and that was outside the rules, Simon.
Simon doesn't play by the rules.
Rules.
Yeah, so far we've had Scream of the Schalke, In a Fix with Sontarans, and Feast of Stephen. Next thing I'm expecting from you is an episode of Bloomin' Blake 7 or something.
Oh,
Not quite.
Not quite, but nearly. You're banned from this next go round.
Finn.
Next 60 seconds, Finn.
The Pandora opens.
Oh, well, again, that's an episode, or are we talking about the whole 2 parts? But when I first watched that, there was this whole thing going on where Stephen Moffat's wibbly wobbly timey wimey and his take on the Doctor, which we hadn't really seen throughout that season, because whatever he did in the 11th hour, he did a dark, more subtle story with The Time of Angels, and of course all the other episodes in between had been written by guest writers. So when we got to the Pandorica Opens, we still had not seen Stephen Moffat's Doctor and his relation with the companions. And we'd been through a whole season by this point, so it was really weird to suddenly get Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who, bursting into life with the finale. We should have had it sooner. I hated it when I first saw it because, it was just too much, too soon, too different after, the kind of regular Doctor Who we'd been going through. When I came back to rewatch it and it suddenly clicked, and this is Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who, and particularly after you've seen Series 6, when you've got a better understanding of it, brilliant, great story. Can I talk for another minute on that one?
No, that was really...
As I'm getting started.
Very, very impressive, though. Take your drink. You're going to need this one.
Are you not going to?
No, I'm going to be a bit kinder. I'm going to be a bit kinder to you. I'm going to an era that you really quite enjoyed.
So we're talking Hinchcliffe and Holmes?
Yeah. No, for 1 minute only, and not including the middle episode, it's the Dalek Master Plan.
So now I have to do the whole shtick that I just gave about the Feast of Stephen and talk about the Dalek.
Yeah, without the
Master
Feast
Plan
of Stephen.
Okay, well, I've given the explanation of where the Daleks Master Plan came from. Daleks Master Plan is, for the third story in a row, exactly the same plot as the last two Terry Nation stories. It's a quest story. In Keys and Marinus, they're looking for the keys. In The Chase, exactly the same thing, except they're not looking for something, they're looking to get away from something, which is the Daleks. And then in Daleks Master Plan, again, it's planet hopping, it's a giant space opera of a story, and this is the big difference. Keys and Marinus was directed by, if I remember right, Richard Martin, and The Chase was... The Chase was Richard Martin, Keys and Marinus, can't remember, both awful. From the point of view of a director. Daleks Master Plan, on the other hand, is Doug Camfield, and that's what sets it apart. I don't know if the script is actually that much better than the Keys and Marinus or The Chase, but it's so much better remembered for what Doug Camfield brought to it.
No, well done.
And I should also point out, Terry Nation really didn't write an awful lot of it. I think it was mostly people like Dennis Spooner and even Donald Tosh who were doing a lot of the writing on it. Hence the appearance of the Time Meddler, the Meddling Monk.
Right, you ready?
Okay, no.
For another minute, you will have to